Iran is burning, not from foreign invasion, but from within. Across the country, scenes of unrest are becoming increasingly common as large crowds take to the streets in open defiance of the authorities. Government buildings have been stormed, security forces overwhelmed, and in some areas, the symbols of state power openly challenged. For decades, fear kept the population in check. Today, that fear appears to be shifting away from the people and toward the regime itself. At the center of this crisis stands the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the most powerful institution in Iran and the ultimate guarantor of the Islamic Republic's survival. Yet recent events suggest that the IRGC may no longer be as untouchable as it once appeared. This raises a critical question: what has changed? And what role has Israel played in accelerating Iran's current moment of instability? Iran is currently experiencing one of the most serious internal challenges since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Protests and demonstrations have spread across multiple cities and provinces, driven by a convergence of economic hardship, political repression, corruption, and widespread public disillusionment with clerical rule. These demonstrations are no longer isolated or symbolic. They are sustained, confrontational, and increasingly bold. In several cases, protesters have invaded official buildings, clashed directly with security forces, and overwhelmed local police units. Such actions reflect a significant breakdown in the state's ability to project authority at the grassroots level. The growing frequency of these incidents suggests that the regime's internal control mechanisms are under severe strain. What distinguishes the current unrest from past protest waves is the apparent erosion of fear. For years, the IRGC cultivated an image of total dominance and inevitability. Today, many Iranians no longer view the organization as omnipotent. This psychological shift is critical, as revolutions rarely begin with military defeat. They begin when people stop believing the regime can survive. To understand why the IRGC appears weakened at this moment, it is essential to examine Israel's direct military actions against Iran, particularly during the 12-day war. During this period, Israel conducted highly targeted strikes aimed not at symbolic targets, but at the core of Iran's military and security architecture. Iran has been forced to increase its military budget to rearm and replenish its stockpiles as a way of preparing for a potential war with Israel in the future. In so doing, the country operates on a strained budget, limiting its ability to address public issues. Israeli attacks focused on IRGC offices, missile infrastructure, command centers, and sensitive military facilities. Several senior IRGC leaders were killed, along with nuclear scientists central to Iran's strategic weapons programs. These losses were not merely tactical. They disrupted institutional continuity, decision-making chains, and long-established networks of authority within the guards. For the Iranian public, these events carried enormous psychological weight. The perception that Israel could strike deep inside Iran, eliminate high-value targets, and do so repeatedly without decisive retaliation shattered the image of IRGC invulnerability. This exposure weakened not only Iran's military posture, but also the regime's credibility in the eyes of its own citizens. Beyond conventional military strikes, Israel's intelligence operations had an even deeper impact on Iran's internal stability. Mossad's actions inside Iran demonstrated an extraordinary level of penetration into the country's security, military, and intelligence systems. Covert operations reportedly compromised sensitive sites, tracked senior figures, and exposed the regime's inability to fully secure its own territory. These operations undermine one of the Islamic Republic's most carefully constructed myths, that its internal security apparatus is impenetrable. For decades, The regime relied on this perception to maintain obedience and suppress dissent. Mossad's demonstrated reach suggested otherwise, revealing cracks within Iran's intelligence and counterintelligence institutions. At the same time, messaging associated with Israel emphasized a deliberate distinction between the Iranian regime and the Iranian people. The narrative that Israel's conflict is with the ruling system, not the population, resonated with many citizens already alienated from their government. This further contributed to the sense that the regime stands isolated, exposed, and increasingly out of step with reality. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has taken the unusual step of directly addressing the Iranian people, repeatedly calling on them to rise up and overthrow the Islamic regime. Netanyahu has repeatedly blamed the Islamic regime for the challenges facing the Iranian people, including its inability to address the issue of water shortage, a problem that can easily be addressed if the regime was not in power. These statements are designed to amplify internal dissent and reinforce the perception that the regime has lost international legitimacy and internal support. This rhetoric is reinforced by Israel's close strategic partnership with the United States. Together, Israel and the U.S. have applied sustained pressure on Iran through sanctions, diplomatic isolation, intelligence cooperation, and military preparedness. This coordinated approach has placed the Iranian leadership under intense strain from multiple directions simultaneously. As a result, the regime faces pressure on three interconnected fronts: widespread domestic unrest, external military and intelligence pressure, and growing internal distrust fueled by infiltration fears and leadership losses. This convergence of pressures has placed the IRGC in a defensive posture at a time when it is least equipped to project confidence. If the current protests succeed and the Islamic Republic is overpowered, Iran would enter a highly unstable transitional period. In such moments, power vacuums create both risks and opportunities, particularly for regional actors with long-standing security concerns. Israel would almost certainly view this window as strategically critical. History offers a relevant precedent. Following the overthrow of Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria, Israel moved decisively to dismantle remaining military assets to prevent advanced weapons from falling into hostile hands. A similar approach could be applied in Iran if the regime collapses. In this scenario, Israel may carry out rapid and concentrated strikes against military stockpiles, missile systems, and nuclear facilities before a new government consolidates authority. Such actions would be aimed not at shaping Iran's internal politics, but at neutralizing long-term strategic threats during a moment of maximum vulnerability. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has not collapsed, but it has been significantly weakened, militarily, psychologically, and symbolically. Israel did not create Iran's internal crisis, but its actions have accelerated existing fractures, exposed vulnerabilities, and undermined the regime's core narrative of strength and control. Whether Iran's unrest leads to reform, regime collapse, or even a restoration of the Shah remains uncertain. What is clear, however, is that Iran stands at a historic crossroads. The IRGC's dominance is no longer unquestioned, and Israel has played a decisive role in shaping the environment in which the future of the Islamic Republic will be decided.